This is unboxing project management body of knowledge in less than 10 minutes. So here we have the 5 process groups of the project, that is initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And under initiation, the first thing we do is develop a project charter and then identify the stakeholders. During the initiation phase, a project manager is identified, and the project manager drives the project into the planning phase. And the first step in the planning phase is develop project management plan. Then we have to plan scope management. How are we going to elaborate the scope and baseline the scope? So scope management, plan scope management comes in there. Then collect detailed requirements and baseline that requirements in the form of a scope document version 1.0. Then decompose. Once the scope is defined, then we decompose the scope into a work breakdown structure. Then we have to plan for schedule management, and then we decompose the work packages of the WBS into activities, and then sequence those activities based on their dependencies, like finish to start, start to start, start to finish, and finish to finish. And we arrive at the activity sequence diagrams, and then estimate activity durations, and then we develop the schedule. Then we get into planning of cost management, then estimate costs, determine budgets, plan for quality management, and plan for resource management, and estimate activity resources, plan communications management, plan risk management, identify the risk, qualitative risk analysis, and then quantitative risk analysis, and then plan risk responses. Then we have to plan for the procurement management as well, and we have to plan proactively for the stakeholder engagement as well. So at this stage, under planning, the total plan for the project is ready. Then we get into the execution mode. So execution mode is nothing but implementing those plans and developing the deliverable of the project. So the first process under execution is direct and manage project work, and then manage project knowledge, manage quality, acquire resources, develop team and manage team, and manage communications, and implement risk responses, and conduct procurements and manage stakeholder engagement. So initiation time, we identified the stakeholders. Planning time, we got into plan stakeholder management. And during execution, it is about managing the stakeholder engagement. And when the planning and execution is really happening, the monitoring and control also goes hand in hand, which goes parallelly. So here, the first process under monitoring and controlling is monitor and control project work. We are talking about integrated project monitoring and control systems, and perform integrated change control. That means during the execution time, sometimes change requests are raised. So in monitoring and controlling time, as part of controlling part, we perform integrated change control. Then we validate the scope of the final deliverable or whatever output is generated. Then we control the scope. We have to ensure that the project is within time, cost, and scope. For that purpose, we control the scope and control the schedule and control the cost. And we control the quality, control resources, and monitor communications, monitor risk, control procurements, and monitor stakeholder engagement. And the last part of the initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So we get into the closing part. Here there is only one process, that is close the project or phase. The closing, a formal closure, can happen at the end of every major phase, and it can happen at the end of the project as well. So we discussed about the 5 process groups of initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And we saw how these 49 processes are grouped under these 5 process groups. Now we have used a coloring scheme. So here we have the 10 knowledge areas of integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder management. So every process is linked to one process group, and it is part of a knowledge area as well. For example, if you take develop project charter, it is part of initiation process group. At the same time, it is part of integration management knowledge area. Identify stakeholders. It is again part of initiation process group, and it is part of stakeholder management knowledge area. So is the case with develop project management plan, is part of planning process group, and it is part of integration management knowledge area. And this yellow band, that is plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create WBS. So the whole yellow band of the processes belong to the scope management knowledge area. This orange color is part of schedule schedule management process area. This blue color is cost management, and green color is associated with quality, and the plan resource management and estimate activity resources is part of the resource management knowledge area. And this color, green color, is part of communications. Red color is part of risk management knowledge area, and this golden color stuff, this is part of procurements, and the blue color is part of stakeholder management. So we discussed about the 5 process groups of initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And we have 49 processes which can be grouped into these 5 process groups, as well as it can be grouped knowledge area wise as well. So my recommendation is to understand it process group wise, because it is easy to remember, as it gives a natural flow of a project, because every project has to be initiated. Then we must get into detailed planning and execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. And these processes works together in tandem and help the project to progress successfully. Key thing to remember: 5 process groups, 49 processes, 10 knowledge areas, and every process is linked to one knowledge area and one process group. For more information about this, please log into our website, pmri.in, and thank you very much.